Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Drajeweled deck profile for post-Raging Flames against Emerald Storm. This was the one trial deck that kind of got overlooked with set 6 having barely any support that could really help the actual deck, but with set 7 being the main focus for the Drajeweled deck, the deck used by Michiru in the Cardfight Vanguard Overdress anime. We now have the full support that you can use to build the Drajeweled deck, being a deck that focuses on having some pretty pressure hits with your Vanguard against your opponent, making it so their Vanguard's power goes all the way down to 1, giving you an additional critical, and just being able to build up the soul even more for you to use with your main Vanguard, being the new Demonic Jewel Dragon Drajeweled. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. And big thanks to my buddy Anthony for letting me borrow his Drajeweled deck for the video. Our starter is the Grade 0 Julius Draco Kid. When wrote upon, if you want second, draw a card. Our Grade 1 is Jewel Core Dragon. When it's wrote upon by Demonic Stone Dragon Jewel Neil. With this card, you call this card to rear, and when this new attack hits or boosts, or when it attacks or boosts, it gets plus 5,000 to end of battle, and at the end of that battle, you can put it into the soul, making it so you have another Grade 1 back into your soul for you to use later on with your Grade 3. Our Grade 2 is Demonic Stone Dragon Jewel Neil. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you soul charge 1, and when it's wrote upon by a unit with Drajeweled in its card name, you can soul charge 1. If your soul has 3 or more cards with different grades, draw a card. So that most of the time will happen because you'll have the Grade 1 through 2 set up in your soul, with our Grade 3 being the new Demonic Jewel Dragon Drajeweled. It has an additional ability that the old one was sort of lacking, being the additional option with that card. We do want to run 3 more copies of this card. If you don't have them, you can always put in the original trial deck Drajeweled as your ride deck Vanguard target, so then you can just ride into the newer copies of the Drajeweled unit as the Persona Ride, since it can count as the Persona Ride card. But with this card, it has a Counterblast 1 once per turn to soul charge 2. If all the cards soul charged have different grades, you may draw a card. And when this unit attacks a Vanguard, soul blast 4 cards with different grades. Choose one of your opponent's Vanguards till end of turn, increase or decrease its power to 1. And if your opponent's Vanguard is Grade 3 or greater, this card gets critical plus 1. So that's all the pressure that definitely does come in handy when going up against your opponent. Just being able to soul blast the 4 different grades makes it all the better for the Persona Ride and riding into the Grade 3. So you have that other option to soul blast with this card. We do run some other Grade 3s as well to potentially hit for the soul charge, 4 of them being the new Demonic Jewel Dragon Rystole Galler. On rearguard, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you soul blast 4 or more cards at the same time for the cost of your Vanguard's ability this turn, put a card from your hand into your soul, draw a card, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and retired. So this could also be a way for you to put the proper rearguards for the following turn into the soul for you to use, and also being able just to retire your opponent's cards can take away, potential guards that they may have needed to guard against some of your bigger attacks, since their power most of the time will only be at 1. With the last Grade 3 that I run in the deck being 2 copies of Heat Haze Acrobat Miroslava. When this unit is placed on rear from hand during your main phase, Counterblast 1, choose a card with grade equal to or less than your Vanguard from your soul, put it into your hand. If you chose a card with the same card name as your Vanguard, and call it to rear. If you did not, if you put a card into your hand, this unit gets plus 5,000 to end of turn. So it's just a recycle card, being able to reuse other cards from your soul back into your hand for you then to utilize from your hand, and also getting the unit that you may have not put the plus 5,000 power. Thanks. So just another 2 of, and being another Grade 3, it could be a potential soul charge for you as well. Moving on now to the Grade 2s. I run 4 copies of the Demonic Stone Dragon Matelvara. When this unit is placed on rear, Counterblast 1, choose a card from your drop, put it into your soul, and then if your soul has 4 more cards with different grades, this unit gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. So it's just another pressure option in the deck, being able to Counterblast. The Counterblast will be very heavy with this deck, but luckily you only have a Soul Blast of 4 to rely on for the main ability of Drajeweled, but being able to give this card plus 10 on top of the potential Persona Ride, you can put it at 30k alone. Going up against a Vanguard that's just 1 power could definitely be risky for your opponent. One of the other better cards. Sadly, only have 1 copy of it. They definitely are pretty difficult to get a hold of with just how little I see of this set available. But 4 copies of Demonic Stone Dragon Rocker Gore. On rearguard, once per turn, when this unit attacks a Grade 3 or greater unit, if your soul has 4 more cards with different grades, this unit gets plus 10,000 till end of turn. And also, when you soul blast 4 more cards with the same time for the cost of your Vanguard's ability, if your Vanguard is Grade 3 or greater, you can Counterblast 1 to stand this unit. This is the extra pressure that this card can provide and why you would want to run 4 of this card, just so you can restand again and swing into your opponent's Vanguard. This card could hit for 10 alone by itself, but also if your opponent does get that one trigger, it could be 10,001, which is, not enough for this card to hit by itself, but you still have this card's first ability when it attacks a grade 3 until end of turn for that plus 10,000 power if you did it for the Soul Blast. So this could be the first attack, and then before you use your Vanguard, you could have that boost with this unit, and then when it restands again, it'll have the plus 10 thanks to the fact that you Soul Blast 4 when your Vanguard attack. The one unit I have is Mystic Accordionist. When it's discarded from hand during your ride phase, being able to put it into the Soul just gives you another grade 2 in Soul very easily. And also, I'm mixing around the ratios for these cards. I have the 3 Steam Battler Gungram. When placed, you Soul Charge 1, and once per turn, you can Soul Blast 2 to draw a card. And also the Falcate Performer, which I do want to run more copies of this card. So the more of this card you can take out the Gungram. It's more of a budget option to run in the deck, running full copies of this card, because on Rearguard, when it boosts, choose up to 1 card for your drop. If your Soul does not have a card with the same grade as that card, put it into your Soul. This can just set up the different numbers you need in your Soul for you. You may be missing a grade 1, 2, or 3, and then just being able to put it in the Soul with your Performer can give you what you're needed for your Drajeweled Vanguard. And the very pricey card for the deck is Brainwash Swirler. If you have the card, you can run it in the next grade 1 spot. But if you don't, you can run this card from the trial deck, which is Friend of the Netherworld, Ling. When it's placed on rear, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one from among them, put it into your Soul, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck. So this is just another way to select what card you may need in your Soul for you to use with your Vanguard. Another good 4 of, and like I said, it was available in the trial deck, so a little more budget friendly if you don't have the Brainwash Swirler. And then for the last of the grade 1 spots, 3 of the Repelled Malice Dragon Sentinel, and 1 of the Elementaria Sanctitude for the guard restrictions of having less cards in your hand, not having to pay the discard, and for the fact that Elementaria Sanctitude doesn't have to pay the discard if you're going up with something with triple drive, and also just being able to use a Blitz Order over some of the other Sentinel options you may have against your opponent. For the trigger lineup, I am running 7 critical for the pressure, so 4 of the new Connected Rampage Clen, just very fitting since it was for the Drajeweled trial deck. I have 3 copies of the Lively Breath Dragon. If you have the ability Soul Trigger, you can always run that in the deck, replacing 3 copies of this and 1 copy of Clen for that spot. Same with the Draw Trigger, which we are also running 4 copies of Insane Researcher. If you have the Draw Trigger with the +5 shield ability, you can put it in for this spot here, with the last heals being 2 copy of Direful Doll Alexandra and 1 copy of Unea and 1 Euphia for the additional ability triggers, having the additional shield when going up against a unit that has multiple attacks or additional critical. And our over trigger of choice is Galmalgahel, being the additional pressure early on if you reveal it for a drive check, giving your Vanguard plus 10k and a critical until the end of the fight every time your turn comes around. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy it. It's a really, really awesome deck that we got from the latest set. So if you're looking for a Dark States deck that can hit with some pretty big pressure with their Vanguard, this is definitely the one to look into. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.